Thanks for watching. This pattern tonight is called Hump's Cress Bug, named after famed Pennsylvania fly fisherman Joe Humphreys. Cress bug, also called a sow bug, pretty much the same thing. Great for the tailwaters around here. I will explain the materials as I go and put the recipe in the description. So first off, in the vise, I've got size 12 barbless cleat camera hook. Got some fibers in there from the last one. Let's get those out of there. Okay, now it's always a pain to figure out how to orient your hook when you've got one of these clink hammers in here. So I'm going to start off with some 020 weighted wraps. I usually just leave it on the spool, minimizes waste. Probably 10 or 12 wraps here, just covering most of the body. You want a little bit of weight to this thing. It's going to be a very bushy looking fly. So let's just break that off. Okay, you could probably go a little bit more than that even, but I think we're fine right there. Now I'm using black 8/0 UTC. Let's get this. I want that to be a little bit further back, so I'm going to build that dam. See that lead slid up a little bit on me? We'll bring that right back and then go straight to the front. Build another little dam right here. Now it's kind of locked these wraps in place before I go back over them a little bit. A couple of times. See if we can just build a little bit of base. Then build a little bit of a taper right here. It's not important. You'll see in a minute. The dubbing we put on this thing is huge. Dubbing, I should say. Okay. Two components before we do the dubbing though. I'm going to put a size small brass wire on it. This is mainly to hold the components in place. It doesn't give it any flash and you don't need any extra weight. So I'll pull that up here and catch that in right there. Okay, watch the point of the hook on your thread there. Now I got a little bit of that sticking up. Okay, now Joe Humphreys uses all kinds of hackle on this thing, but most of the ones I've seen had him tying this with Grizzly. So just some Grizzly hackle here, not necessarily sized to match the hook because these are going to be trimmed off and come off the bottom as legs, so they can be a little bit longer than for the hook you're tying it on. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that butt end off right there and just try to bury these a little bit here. So we've got an okay taper going on. But now bring your thread back here, put a good solid chunk of wax on there because we're using squirrel dubbing, gray squirrel dubbing on this thing, and a pretty generous portion. It'll probably take you 2 clumps to get this thing dubbed here. Watch my backdrop. So see that? Guard hairs and all. You could probably do a dubbing loop in here. It's not really necessary. This thing is going to be a big old mess of a body. So, and it's going to be pretty messy before it starts looking good. So get a couple wraps there. Now I can pull this tighter and start spinning it. You'll want to get it kind of a football shape, a little bit thicker in the middle, and then tapered if you can do it on the front and back. So I might make a couple extra wraps in here in the middle. And that weight does help you give you a little bit more of a taper, just because it is, you know, makes it thicker right there. Now I'm making a little bit of a mess on this one right here, but we can recover from that if I can pull this tight. Now you'll want the body to go almost up to the eye. All right. Now I told you this thing's going to get a lot messier before we get done with it, so I don't want it to crowd my eye too much. So I'm going to pull a little bit of that back and just try to bring my thread back right there. Got to be able to tie in this hackle and the wire in a second. See, that's a big mess of a fly right now. Let's wrap the hackle. So I'm going to wrap this the opposite of the way I wrapped the dubbing in. It doesn't really matter. I suppose we're going to put a rib on it. But wrap these pretty tight, pretty close together. We'll give it a big haircut. This is one of the last steps. On the top and the sides, really just want these hackle fibers to be coming off to the bottom. They are the legs. So okay, when you get that to the front, go ahead and catch this in. And don't let it unwind on you like I just did. If it unwinds on you, I might have to cut this part of the video out. See how long it takes me. Alright, just keep going. This is a pretty long feather. I should not have let that one slip out of my fingers, but I did. Sometimes it's a pain to be working. I got this blue backdrop just like 4 inches behind where I'm tying, so sometimes that gets a little bit in the way. Okay. See that? That's a pretty big mess of a fly. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. Let's get a couple locking wraps in here and then try to push some of these back before we... You can trim them, sure. Or we can just try and capture them in here. Less we'll have to trim at the end, but we're still going to have to trim. So I'm going to counter wrap the wire, counter it from the hackle. So this is kind of how I was wrapping the dubbing just a second ago. This is just to help lock everything in place. It doesn't really need any segmentation and doesn't really add much flash, if any, to it, but it just makes it a little bit more durable of a fly. So let's go ahead and lock these in here, this wire in here, a couple more wraps. Now I'm going to hold this tight. See, I'm holding it tight right there. Spin that off. Okay. Now there's not a whole lot more to this fly. I just want to be careful that I don't cover up my eye. It looks fine right there. Now we'll go ahead and give it a whip finish before we do any trimming. 4 turns will be fine. 1 whip finish, especially if you're going to put a drop of head cement on it. Okay, now, told you it's a big mess. Let's give this thing a haircut. The only thing we're going to leave are these coming down off the bottom here, the legs of this thing. So we'll give it a trim on top and the sides. Pretty close. Now you'll see it's still going to be a spiky looking body with this squirrel fur and the guard hairs still in it. So that's a haircut on the top. Now let's, and the front side. Now let's do get these over here on this side. And a little bit here on the back. Okay, so that's the profile of it right there. Got a little bit right here I want to try to get rid of. That's fine. Now look at the bird's eye view of this thing. Okay, I think that's okay. Most of the legs are coming off the bottom right there. And you might want to just try to pull these back. Having them come straight down makes it look like a real sow bug or cress bug, whatever it is you call it in the waters that you fish. So there you have it. Pretty easy pattern to tie. Joe Humphreys cress bug, one of the most famous fly fishermen here on the East Coast, Pennsylvania, Maryland, tailwaters. This thing does great. Limestone creeks. This thing is one almost all of us should have in our fly boxes. So there you go, folks. If you've watched this far, I really appreciate it. I hope you will consider subscribing. And that's it. Thank you.